Okay, we can start the music. Hi everyone, thank you for joining our workshop. My name is Facu Pla. I'm VP of Client Services at Core. And thank you again for joining our workshop focused on transparency. And we say transparency as we believe it's one of the keys for having happy clients and healthy agencies and healthy business. So I was asking where you're from. I would love to know also what roles you have within agencies, if you own agencies, what type of agencies you are actually managing, what roles you do have, kind of services you offer. If you want to share, it would be great for us to know. So before starting, I would like to thank you all again for your time. And for those who are participating in our workshop for the first time, I would like to clarify that the recording will be shared with all the participants. That's important for you to know it. And also several links will be shared for you to explore later. For example, an ebook, some surveys, and more information, okay? And last but not least, I believe these spaces are as rich as the information we share. So feel free to share your experiences through the chat, through Q&As, experiences. If you feel that the things we are actually sharing are happening to you. If not, if you have questions, anything that will enrich this space, it's going to be better for all of us, okay? So let's start. In our previous workshop, we discussed how to increase our billable hours, understanding we are part of the billable hour market, how to increase billable hours, how to visualize deviations, and how to address one of the major pains in this industry, which is actually employee or talent turnover, right? We discussed the internal aspects of agencies, the internal part of management, and how to become more efficient in terms of making all your available hours more profitable. Okay, how to be more efficient, how to be more effective, how to be more profitable, and finally, different ways to have what I believe most of all here or everyone here wants, that is have more profitable businesses, right? Agus will share the ebook. Of course, we're going to talk again about billable hours or deviations, but Agus will share. I think it's valuable for all of us, all of you, if you haven't watched it, our ebook related to billable hours. So you can download that deck and take a look later, please, not now. Okay. So, all right. Many. Let me go to the chat from it. If Okay, no one shared your roles in agencies. If you want to share, it would be great for me to know if you are a CEO, creative director. Thanks you, Devon. Roles, if you are CEOs, if you are in ops, in commercial areas, in creative areas, it's important for us. Okay, or agency size. Are you part of an agency of 20 people, 100 people, 500 people? That it's also, I think, valuable for the information we're going to see. Okay. So many CEOs, COOs, CFOs, and all leading roles take certain roles in agencies, and their main goal, or the way they are actually measured, is to improve or increase agency profitability, right? And several times, or many times, or all of the times, it's so challenging to achieve that, to increase profits, that there's generally a way or a search for cost reduction, right? It's not easy to renegotiate a fee. So most of the times, what I try to do is to cut some costs, right? As we discussed in the last workshop. As many times, renegotiating a fee or a retainer is most of the time not possible, right? Today, we're going to focus on another key aspect of this industry, and that is the relationship with our clients, an aspect that is increasingly taking on more relevance and changing the practice of how we manage agencies in a client-facing matter, right? So in a context where we have more information, in a context where we have more data and more visibility, the old practice of I pay you and then I see what you deliver, it's becoming a bit obsolete, right? Brands with their CMOs, with their brand managers and more, they demand transparency. And I have seen it in some cases that brands, they even ask for the expected profit of the fee of the retainer of the project, right? They say, all right, your cost is, let's say, $50 an hour. You can have 100% overhead, and you can only have 12% profit, right? So it's a very hard ecosystem to develop and to increase profit and to develop winning relationships with clients, right? Therefore, the goal today is, I mean, in our conversation, it's to focus on visibility and transparency with our clients, okay? It is crucial to understand how to do it in a healthy way, what pains arise from not doing it, and what benefits brings in the long term, right? We will review some brief results that some agencies have achieved related to this. We have some case studies. Of course, data is going to be anonymized. We cannot share sensitive information from our clients, but we will see how they have achieved this, how the way they did it, and how this enabled them to strengthen long-term relations. And before going on, for those who don't know, let me introduce Core. Core is a software that automates time tracking or timesheets to increase your business profitability and team efficiency, mainly by help you increase billable hours, reduce deviations or renegotiate fees, and reducing employee turnover. Okay. Before going on, this is not a demonstration of our product or our services. So if you have specific questions related to the product, the service we offer, onboarding, or the things we have around Core, during this conversation, I suggest you to schedule a personalized demo with some of our product experts. By the end of this meeting, I will share a code so you can scan it and scan it through here or through the website, okay? So let's go to the slide of the agenda, the things we're going to see today. Thank you. So we'll start, as we do in most of our workshops, with some current trends and metrics of creative agencies. As you may know, or you have obtained or received our core report, each year we survey several executives all around the world. For this information that we're going to see now, the last core report was over 600 executives from marketing and advertising agencies all around the world were surveyed. So we're going to see this information. Secondly, some theoretical issues like the relevance and the positive impact of visibility and transparency in the relation with your clients. And lastly, client access, okay? So how to involve the client in your agency, in your operation, how some of our clients were able to renegotiate fees and even increase their conversion, from pipeline to client by offering transparency in a pitch, okay? So we are almost 10 minutes. So before moving forward, for people joining in the last minutes, and in order to enrich our space, I will shoot some questions for anyone that wants to share its experience. And that's it. That's like, how do you quote services? Are you selling by projects, by fees, by retainers, deliverables? How are you currently quoting? How do you quote or sell fees if you are selling by this way? How would you define your relationship with your clients, with most of your clients? Do you have like toxic relations? And with this, I mean, have you ever decided to drop or stop working with a client for being unhealthy? Let me check the questions and let's go to the current, the next slide. Go to the chats, head of ops, finance director, operations manager, creative. Okay, so we have different areas, very interesting. Thank you all for sharing. So how do we start our core report each year? Last year, we started with this question, and it's, if you could have a magic wand for one thing, what could you use it for, right? And we started this workshop with this slide, mainly because I think this is central to providing context to what we will talk about in today, right? Most of problems have to do with internal visibility, visibility of resources, visibility of deviations, visibility of deliverables, visibility of reworks, visibility of operational capacity. If I don't know the operational capacity of my team, I don't know what I have available to sell. I mean, even though I sell deliverables, I sell a website, my cost is hours, right? Hours from a designer, hours from a full stack that is developing a website. So hours of my team's variable cost for the fixed price that I most of the time sell, right? As today we're going to talk about the problem of transparency in client relation, we started with this. Okay, so let's go to the next slide where we asked all these executives how would they describe the majority of their projects or retainers. And what we see here is very interesting, as almost half admit or mention that their projects are not profitable, either lose money or are at even. Basically, they don't make money at all, right? Is this sounds familiar to any of you? Do you have in your in your client pie some clients that are not profitable, but we decide to keep them or retain them because they are important, or we do not want to have certain difficult conversations in order to discuss retainers, and those clients are sustained by other clients that are more profitable? Do you have this kind of client pie inside your revenue? Can you share your experiences? Because I believe this probably happened to many of you, right? Sometimes we decide to retain a fee or a client with a certain client because of its importance. Let's say I want to keep McDonald's because I don't want to leave McDonald's, even though I can be or I may be losing money with McDonald's, right? Sorry if you hear my dog. I bet for noise canceling. So many of the times we do not want to have a difficult conversation with these clients because we do not have the correct information or the correct data. We have a sense that this client may not be profitable, but we do not have it, right? Maybe we have 1 or 2 full-time equivalents sold, but we are using 3 or 4. But if we are not currently measuring, or we do not have visibility of the time that client is being spent, no one is going to pay more for that, right? So this takes us to the following slide, and the following question is, why would we retain a client if that client is not profitable? Why would we have a client or a project if we're not making any money with it, right? Why would we sell to someone if we lose money with that person? And when we identify this as a structural problem, like many agencies mention this as a problem, not profitable clients, we ask, how do you define your prices? How do you quote? How do you find the resources that certain scope of work will take? How do you find a retainer, a fee? How do you find the resources you need for each service or each fee to deliver on time and with the quality you expect, right? So let's keep here and basically stay in this slide. Basically, no one responded that they do it based on real data. No one. It's based on past experience. It's based on benchmarking. Let's say I know some agencies quote, let's say, cost and 80% overhead or 100% overhead, and let's say 10, 15, 20% profit. And that's the way I quote. Or let's say a website, it's around 100 hours from these positions, and that's how I quote. But then I don't have any information of sense if it's taking more time than the time expected or the time sold, right? And this leads us to quite a central issue, which is that certainly many agencies all around the world, I'm not talking about Latin America, United States, I mean, I have heard here companies from all around the world, most of agencies do not operate their businesses 100% based on real data and real information. And this means that errors are dragged over time, right? And that we probably have projects, fees, or clients that are not profitable, and they will remain like this for a long time. So we asked how often your agency experienced budget changes. Let's go to the next slide. And what's worse is that when we talk to agencies about their initial scope of work agreed upon with the client, when we talked about how many of these suffer deviations, almost all of them suffer deviations, right? And I bet some of you here do have an excellent practice of having conversation of why a scope of work has a deviation over the initial scope of work. But I bet most of you or several of you don't have this practice. And what usually happens is that we are watching a retainer 1 year later, and all the time that passed in the middle was probably a loss for my agency. I have been working for not winning a dollar, right? So here lies the problem. And everything arises after agreeing the scope of work. So you have to wait for a period, as I was saying, of 1 year maybe to adjust the fee. And when we go to have that conversation a year after that, what we may what may happen if let's say like a hypothetical situation where we sold 5 FTs and we work a full year, and to deliver the deliverables expected and the campaigns expected, we needed, let's say, 8 full-time equivalents during the year. During the year, I have lost 3 full-time equivalents per month. And probably what will happen after 1 year is that when I go to the brand and say, hey, for the next year, it's going to take 8 full-time equivalents, I will go probably inside another pitch with new agencies, and I will have the risk to lose that client. So it's a really problematic situation, right? So all of this, like as a funnel, drops us to the last slide I'm going to show related to the core report, and it's, would you agree on granting your client access to the project's progress, resources, and tasks? Let's go to the next slide. So would you give access to your clients? The next one, please, over there. Yeah. And as we can see, very few would do it, right? Half would not give access, and some would only give some things. Okay, maybe collaboration, maybe, I don't know, maybe an approval. And this is clearly linked, and that's why we started with visibility. This is clearly linked to the first point seen at the beginning, which is visibility as a central problem. If you do not have visibility of your business in terms of time, in terms of resources, in terms of deviations, in terms of reworks, of productivity by teams, how are you going to give this visibility to a client? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give visibility to a client if I'm not sure that the things I'm actually showing to you are valid, right? So the first thing that agencies have to achieve is to manage business based on data, because if we base business on data, it will allow us to estimate better. If we estimate better, we will feel comfortable giving visibility to our clients because we are not overstaffing, no understaffing, nor quoting in the air, right? Let me go to the chat so to check if there's any. Beverly, are you correctly listening now? Okay. So please share if you feel anything I have just shared is familiar to you, please feel free to share it. Yeah? So the relevance and the positive impact on transparency. Is there anyone here giving access to clients to their operations? Anyone here who sit down with a client to renegotiate fees or a retainer based on real data and information, who can see deviations of projects and fee in real time with clients? Is anyone here experiencing that kind of practice? We do have several clients, of course, but I would like to know if any of you here is doing this, right? Like giving visibility to my brand of the status of a project, of the deliverables, to check if there's rework needed, if the rework is internal or by the client, if you need an approval to have it in the same place, or you have decentralized data and you prepare like custom reports in order to go to some conversations and try to renegotiate a fee. Anyone who'd like to share? I was for not silence, I will keep moving and I will go and check the chat box. Okay. So main pains that an agency brand relationships, the main pains that we experience, or I bet many of you experience in this, in not giving visibility, are we have a brand manager, a CMO, or an owner of a small brand, and they are chasing us on when a certain deliverable will be ready. They do not have it clearly on the deadlines, how a certain issue is coming along, why we're not delivering on time. Everything is lost in an email, decentralized information. If we ask for feedback, it can travel by WhatsApp, but it may be not so clear, so it's lost. You have delays times. Not having this info means that we have a lot of pains associated in terms of collaboration, operation, and transparency with the clients. Okay. Generally, if we do not have good data and we quote, what is probably happening is that we are understaffing. Why? Because if we overstaff in a very competitive pricing market where we're trending to commodities, right? We probably lose those clients or pitches by price. We fail to win them. So many times when we estimate with no real information, we are probably understaffing, right? And this is what usually happens. I quote based on intuition, and that leads me to have fewer resources for that project that the ones I really need, also in fees or retainers. Sometimes we establish a fee for 2 or 3 services, let's say community management, branding, and SEO. And then we start executing, and we do not know if for that, let me check, if anyone here like with full agencies, because maybe you are offering, branding, SEO, community management, several services into a retainer. And what usually happens is that we do not have deviations in all of our services. And maybe we need to go inside, let's say, community management and see that it's taking a lot of reworks and we have one full-time equivalent assigned over there, but we're using, let's say, 300 hours a month. So we need to solve that particular service and not the whole relationship with the client. If we don't have that information, it's impossible to have that conversation. So measuring is key, because even though you sell by deliverables, your cost is time. Anyone here selling by hours, like hours of a designer, of a junior designer, hour of different positions? Anyone here selling by deliverables? If you would like to join, to share, it would be valuable, I think. So measuring is key, as I was saying, because even though you sell by deliverables, your cost is time. Okay, great, Lorraine. Yeah, so let me open here because I think it's, yeah, you still have billable hours, of course. So your main cost is time. We have X amount of hours, but of X role, right? I have 160 hours available from a junior designer, and my best possible business is to sell them all. Of course, I'm not going to sell them all. You can see this in the billable hour workshop or the ebook, but of course, I'm not going to sell them all because I will have trainings, holidays, some hours I'm not actually selling, but selling the most of these billable hours is the best business I can do, right? So to understand, sorry, if what I sold is profitable or not, I have to understand how this cost was managed within that project that I sold. So measuring the time it takes us to execute it is key. Okay, we need to understand where the deviations are occurring to have conversations. If we do not have data and we do not have visibility, all this is a discussion in the air that never leads to a good port. And as I love to say, no, and I always say, no client, or I have never seen a client that will agree on paying more if one, that client is very happy with our work and our deliverables, and two, has clear data on why a project is taking more time than the time expected and why, right? So let's go to the next slide. And transparency is key if you have never seen it, I encourage you to go through our YouTube. And we were talking to David Sable, who was a former CEO of PML YNR, ex Young and Rubicam, a global CEO. And we were talking about this transparency as a key for winning new business, transparency as a key for renegotiating fees, and at the end, transparency for having profitable clients, right? Let's move forward. So we'll see some success stories on how to involve your clients in your agency operations. Okay, let's move forward. All what we are going to see here, the information we see, the numbers we see are based on real data, but of course is anonymized. I cannot share the information, okay? Firstly, we have clients who have managed to double their conversion rates from pipeline to close one. If you, I don't know, if you manage HubSpot as a CRM for pipeline, for example, they have managed to double their conversion rates, basically by offering in their pitches, by offering visibility, offering a collaboration and transparency tool to those clients. And they had a differential to win against other agencies, okay? On second hand, and these are like real data, retainers, annual retainers, we have lots of clients that manage to renegotiate fees based in our panels. We're going to see, it's not a product demonstration, but we're going to see some examples forward. And they have managed to renegotiate their annual fees or retainers over or above 35% based on data. I guess some of you may be thinking it's very hard to renegotiate a fee or a retainer. I agree. And sometimes this impacts not in maybe renegotiate the money a client is going to pay us, but in adjusting the scope of work. Mainly what works here is I do not know successful renegotiations without data, okay? But if we know that a fee, a retainer, project, a deliverable is taking more time than expected, the first thing is, if I know it, and I do have it in a dashboard, I can show it and I can share it. And I have this first conversation. Maybe I will renegotiate the fee. And let's say for the next year, I will have, instead of 5 full-time equivalents, 8. Secondly, I can adjust the scope of work. So if we're taking 8, but you're paying 5, let's adjust the scope of work. So I only use 5. I do not want an unprofitable business. Okay, so there are several ways of understanding how to impact this, right? Lastly, in profitable clients, no, let's keep it in the previous. Lastly, the ability to renegotiate, review, and make periodic adjustments in the scope of work, and not to wait for such long periods. All right, it's a shift it's a focus shift on how we manage clients. So clients are starting to demand visibility, and if well managed and strategically managed, it would not only impact closer and more enduring relationships, but also in anticipating post-mortem analysis of deviations and renegotiating instances with concrete data. Okay? I'm not here to complain about things that happened 6 months ago. We have much more frequent checkpoints and instances, right? Because in summary, the process that I guess most or all of you have is we define or agree an initial scope of work, we agree on it, we start executing the scope of work, and show how we are doing versus the initial scope of work, right? So we can understand if we start and having deviations, which are the causes. Maybe I didn't staff well, maybe I am inefficient and I have to reuse some internal things. Maybe there are modifications of the initial case linked to the brand, and it was not agreed upon. So new request, we can have client reworks. So there are several things that are important to have in the initial conversation, because no one wants an unprofitable client. And probably the brand either doesn't want an unprofitable agency. So there can be a lot of things that push uh, a deviation from the initial work, the initial scope of work. And it's key to understand which are the causes. Because the brands, even though it maybe in the short term may benefit from an agency not being profitable, because in the short term maybe it's cheaper, in the midterm or in the long term, it's not uh, beneficial for anyone. Okay, because an agency with very low, with unprofitable probably will have very low salaries. An agency with low salaries will probably be an agency with high turnover. An agency with high turnover is very likely to lose key talents. The talent that remains probably does not have the differential of the agency, and that agency loses their differential and probably will just be selling a commodity, right? It's a negative circle in which a brand maybe, as I was saying, in the short term may benefit, but not in the long term, because we are going to, they would stop having the agency as a strategic partner and a value added, right? Let's move forward. I'm talking a lot, so I'm going to check the chats. Okay, no one. So now here we see, these are some screenshots of our clients. We'll see how our clients have managed to renegotiate their fees and adjust their scope of work. It is key for me to show some reports or metrics, even though this is not a demo of our products I was mentioning, as these are the panels that are used in these conversations. Of course, as I was saying, this data is anonymized. So you can see for example, in the first graph on the left, we see a series of clients with several fees. Maybe we have only one fee or retainer with one client, but maybe we have several fees or retainers with a client. And it's key to understand the time deviations in each client, in each fee, each project. For example, here client A is quite problematic, mainly in 2 services, not in all of them, where there is a significant deviation. We see, for example, 1.5, 1 FTE and a half sold, but actually executing login hours more than 6, right? This is real data. It's important for you to know that this is what currently happens when you start measuring your time. So clearly, if there isn't a discussion, this service and this client will be unsustainable in short term, right? We provide internal and client visibility on how each of the services are actually performing. The same goes for the chart on the right. How many hours are we allocating to reworks requested by clients? Because we do have internal reworks. And if we measure internal reworks, we discussed this in the last workshop, but we can adjust some internal things, but client reworks. So this allows us to say, I deliver on time. Look at all the level of reworks you are generating in amount and in time. This help us identify where the problem is to adjust the solution. So bottom left, the same. If we had all our services and how many hours are sold in each of these services, I could know the available hours for each service. In this graph, this agency, we see that we are executing much more than what they had actually sold, right? Bottom right, we can measure the number of deliverables. Measuring just by pieces is risky because pieces take several amount of time, seniority, type of position. So it's one thing, but I don't suggest to just sell by deliverables. If we sell by this, it's important for us internally to constantly be measuring the time it's taken, right? So we have discussed the importance of transparency and visibility for new business and profitable clients and fee negotiations. The second aspect that we're talking is new business. And it's a bit more theoretical, but I believe it's important to be shared, right? So we will see how we have supported some clients. We haven't won the pitches, clients too, but we have go with them to several pitches. And we will share on how we can support some clients, some agencies in winning new businesses and include this acts transparency as a differential in the pitch. Nowadays, brands value transparency. And I will open this into 2 axes, like transparency and collaboration, right? Because we can only give transparency to a client, that's okay. We can also give transparency and collaboration. That is like include the brand in the creative process, right? So transparency is how we enable to give visibility of estimated hours versus consumed or executed hours, the amount of deliverables per service, amount of reworks, to understand of all these reworks, how many of them are internal, external, not only the amount of reworks, but the amount of hours spent on those reworks. For example, I bet many of you can quote by, let's say, uh, uh, a determined fee, retainer, or deliverable, and you say, when I deliver, you have included in the same price, let's say, 2 reworks. And after that, after the second reworks, I start billing by hour, for example. There are many ways to solve this problem, but not measuring reworks. What usually happens is that we have this like open and non-stopping request from the clients, changing requests from client. That is completely exhausting and not profitable, okay? Also, we can be transparency in projects, in tasks, how we're actually going, amounts, times, okay? And in the second axis, the next slide, please, it's related to collaboration, okay? And it's allowed the brand to be part of the creative process by collaborating, by feedback, by building together, okay? So we believe that if we use a collaboration tool, which of course is related to transparency, we may solve another of the problems in agencies that we've seen in our core report. That is all the decentralized information, the decentralized data, the decentralized communication, where we ask clients talks with one account executive through email, and it's not registered, it's not logged in our CRM, so no one knows what is actually happening. Another client that is very small is always talking through WhatsApp to an account executive, and then these talents, these account manager, account executives rotates, and it's not working with us anymore. We lose all that information. Maybe a client texts someone for a change request, and what happens is that person is maybe off, or it's a day off, and we deliver out of time because we're not centralizing data. And also all the information related to a project, a task, a deliverable is lost. It's not centralized in the same place. So we encourage you for increasing or improving relations to give visibility to our clients. First of all, to solve it internally, but then when you have it solved, include your clients. Clients value this, and this at first may be a bit scary, but in the long term, it's completely valuable. You can show a client the real time that it's currently a project taking, and they will know you're not overstaffing just because you're not calculating the time it will spend, right? So to finish in the next slide, visibility in processes with clients allows us to achieve fluid feedback, quickly detect deviations and not to wait a long time, identify over requests in a more agile way. This enables us to address the issue fast, thereby aligning the project's expectations and priorities with the delivery times, okay? Having this visibility and a tool to centralize all this data and communication with the client is key to maintaining a good relationship with the clients, okay? So this is all from my end. I will check right now if you have any questions, any comments. If not, yeah, you can send them over there. Of course, you have my email. You can send anything you would like to know or discuss later. You can count on that. And to close, like, let's wait 1 minute. But while we wait, thank you everyone for joining today. If all this information we shared that is focused mainly in client access, in client relationship, it's useful for you, and you would like to have a personalized demo related to our product, our ways to automate time tracking. I know we understand that one of the main issues in this industry is that people hate login hours. right? No one wants to log hours. You feel controlled. And if we not log hours, we won't understand where our main cost is. And it's impossible to move forward, to improve our businesses. So that's why at core, what we believe is one of the keys for succeeding in this industry is automated time tracking, right? By integrating calendar, by understanding where people is actually working, by automated rules in order to understand if I'm actually um, meet I'm meeting someone from Coca-Cola. I know that that time is actually 1 hour I have been logging with Coca-Cola, and that it needs to happen automatically. If we are always asking people to manually log hours, we will continue struggling as an industry in the same place, right? So yeah, if you wish to have a personalized demo, you can scan this code in the screen. You can go through the website, and yeah, that's all from my end. I'm not sure if you would like to add anything, Agus. Okay, thank
I
you all
think,
for your
yes.
time.
Thank you so much, Facu, and thank you everyone for joining. We will provide you with a recording of the workshop at the end, so you can share it with your team and watch it again on your own pace. So thank you so much.